live. Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Gabriella Kőrösi, and I'm here with an amazing aromatherapist practitioner. And her name is Mimi Rossel Tarte de Martin. I hope I didn't butcher that too much, but you can tell us more about yourself and your wonderful name and where are you from and what you're doing in your practice.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. Thank you so much for having me. You actually did it quite well. Yes, it's my name. My name is Mimi Russell Tarte de Martin. De Martin is my married name, and I am an aromatherapist, flower essence, and an acu aroma practitioner, and I am based in Panama, Central America.
That is so wonderful. And I have met Mimi throughout this book that was created, Drops of Wisdom, Points of Power. And she has a wonderful story in this book. And I would love if you want to share a little bit about maybe the story you've written in the book or any other experiences you have had while you're learning about this modality.
Yes, of course. Well, if you've read and I'm sure you have read the
I
entire
have many
book, yes,
times.
you have many times. So, as you already know, I was a little, I mean, I was very intrigued. Basically, I was very intrigued about the modality because I had a client who was experiencing vasovagal syndrome, and she could not have or continue to have acupuncture treatments. That's for some reason, most of the time they triggered a vasovagal episode. And it was through the magic and wisdom of aromatherapies with Joseph Carter and at the time with Angela that they were talking about this modality. And, I was intrigued. We didn't really know if acu aroma would trigger a vasovagal response or not, but it was very
Hmm.
unlikely. Yeah, Joseph Carter, told me it's very unlikely that it will trigger an event. And then later on, um, I think that Angela Sidlow opened her first cohort of training for AcuAroma. And at the time, I was enrolled in other areas of studies, and I didn't have the opportunity to join. So I joined the second one, and that's how it all started.
I just love this whole idea of creating a new modality by combining two that we already had. And I have loved essential oils since a child, um, and I even attempted to create some of my oils by adding the flowers to different oils and things like that. And for today, just for fun, yesterday when I was talking to Angela, and I know you watched that, I was talking about my basket of oils. So here are my basket of oils.
That's
So I thought
fantastic.
for fun, I could pick one and see what you think, how we could use that oil and just kind of like maybe talk about that a little bit. Let's see. And I picked rosemary.
Huh, rosemary. That's interesting because I had an experience with rosemary
Mm,
actually, and it was my first experience with having a response to acu aroma because I want to explain that and Angela had mentioned it many times when I was training with her that in the initial phases when you are first being treated or you encounter acu aroma, you may not feel anything at all in the beginning, and that was my experience. I was
mm-hmm,
taking the training, and one fantastic thing that Angela kept telling us was to first practice on ourselves so that we could actually get to know the paths and the ways
mm-hmm,
that things actually have worked, or how they actually worked. And I couldn't feel anything at first, and then one day I was taking a class with her, which was not really a structured class. It was more like an exercise. And
Mm-hmm.
we were doing this exercise on the yin tan here on the third eye.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, we use rosemary. And I'm also talking about that in the book. And I'm not going to,
Mm-hmm.
tell it here, but the experience was quite mind-boggling. It was amazing, and it made me know without a doubt that it was working. So yeah.
So what is your favorite point for rosemary?
It would be the yin tan, absolutely. And rosemary also, has an effect on our cognitive uh, processes and in our memory, and it helps us to think clearly and to have a wider vision of things.
Mm-hmm. So what I usually do with my oils, I usually love just to put some on my wrist, rub them, and then smell them.
And then smell them. And that is
Yeah, and
fantastic, isn't it?
and then with the aroma, which I learned, I didn't really understand in the beginning how does it work, but you dilute it with a lotion or an oil, and then you put it on the person. And
Yes.
I'm curious that in your practice, what you have noticed were the the most impactful ways to use aromatherapy and aromatherapy.
I prefer to use vegetable oils like jojoba that don't have
Hmm.
any uh, competing. There is no competition between the smells of the
Hmm.
actual carrier oil and the essential oil, and that's what I would
Hmm.
prefer. And also because like Angela says, it's best to use just one essential oil on the meridian points, on the acupuncture points, so that the body doesn't get confused and the meridian and the energetic pathway knows exactly what you mean. So I don't like using lotions, because lotions sometimes have other ingredients in them, and I prefer just
Hmm.
to use jojoba oil. Yeah, Simonsia chinensis.
It's wonderful. Do you have a favorite essential oil that you love to use or love to recommend?
Well, if I'm stranded, that question has two parts. If I'm stranded in a desert island, it would probably be either lavender or eucalyptus, because
Hmm.
I find that lavender, is very versatile. It has many many uses that can be applied. But me personally, I love vetiver.
Hmm.
I could, if I could just roll in a tank of vetiver for hours, I'd be just very happy.
So why do you love it? Tell us a little bit more about it.
It just, for some reason, there is it's I find it at the same time pungent, soft, tangy, and it sort of like evolves and covers me in this fantastic, wonderful ride. And it wasn't until after I became a certified aromatherapist that I discovered that it was a very grounding type of essential oil.
So I'm just looking it up because I'm not that familiar with it, how it looks like. So it's a type of grass.
It's a type of grass, yes, and you
So
distill it
I'm
from
gonna
the
show
roots.
just people, this is the vetiver grass. I don't know how much you can see it, but yeah, it looks really pretty.
It looks really pretty, and I have this friend who lives on the beach on a sort of like a hill that
Hmm.
required some contention, because it could, with a lot of rain, it could just you could have like mudslides,
Erosion. Hmm.
erosion, exactly. And she's planted a lot of vetiver in her
Hmm.
in her uh, plot of land, because it has very long roots that can hold the terrain together.
That's wonderful. I have some grasses growing that looks similar to that in my property. I'm gonna have to try to figure out if it's that or something else. It's just in small bunches, but it looks very, very similar to it, and it looks kind of like a little shiny. Is it like rounded? The leaves, are they rounds?
Um,
Like it's a
I
circular
I
rounded leaf?
they're sort of like flattish like that, and if you
They are
pull on
flat?
it,
Okay.
and if you pull on it, I mean, I've I have had like slits on my skin.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of sharp a little bit.
A little bit sharp, not too sharp, but it's a little bit sharp. Yeah.
Okay. Um, can you walk us through like how would it work if somebody like wants to work with you, for example? How would an appointment go or how they would set up to come and see you?
Well, the first thing is they would contact me, either through LinkedIn or
Mm-hmm.
through, just sending me a message or an email, and then we would talk a little bit, or we would communicate a little bit about what is it that the person wants, and then we would have a 30-minute free conversation on Zoom, to be able to get to know each other, for me to understand what the problem is, to see if it is within the scope of my practice, and if we are a good fit for each other. And when I say a good fit for each other, it is that perhaps, I think the honesty is a, it's the basics of things,
Yes.
and we shouldn't put expectations when we are not sure of how things will develop for that particular person. Perhaps sometimes it is that I'm not the right practitioner for them because they need some other type of support. Perhaps they need a doctor, or
Mm-hmm.
they need a psychologist, or they need a psychiatrist, or they need a massage therapist, which I am not, for example. And in that
Mm-hmm.
situation, I will let them know that, it's I'm here. I can do aromatherapy, I can do acuaromatherapy and flower essences, but in that particular case, I'm not the one that she or he should see. And most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
yes. But if I am not the person, or I don't think that I'm going to be a good fit for the job, then I will let the person know. Basically, that's it.
So, but you are a good fit for this one. So what happens next? You have a 30-minute Zoom meeting and then?
We have a 30-minute Zoom meeting, and depending on where the person is, then the person can come in.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, I have the first appointment can be very long,
Mm-hmm.
because if it is, for example, an emotional issue, the person needs to first of all be very sincere with themselves, so that they can be sincere with you. If the person is not sincere, then I will be, um, taking care of or supporting a different being or a different problem, and not the real problem. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
this can be a lengthy process for the person to actually open up and tell you exactly what it is that it's bothering them. When it has to do with physical things, they're more direct, and they will tell you, well, it hurts me here. um, and sometimes the pain can be related to other physical things, but most of the time there is also an emotional or spiritual component to that, and we have to discover it. So, the appointments with me, the first appointment can last a good hour and a half, 90 minutes, and sometimes even longer, depending on the client's requirements.
I love that you spend time with your clients, because I think one of the issue that happens in modern healthcare is that patients come and go really quickly. Some appointments are 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and you can't really address the whole person. And I think it's really important to get to know the person. And I appreciate that, you have kind of a pre-consultation to see if it's even a fit, and then actually spending quite a bit of time with the person, um, not necessarily watching the clock, but getting to know them. And I love the idea also that you work with flower essences. I do have a flower here, a rose, and this is a little treasured one for me because this is a very old one, and I don't know how effective it is, but I got it from my grandmother, and so it's over 30 years old, and she's been gone for about 15 years now, and I just hold on to this little bottle, and there's still there's still some in it, but every time I want to think of my grandmother, I just open it and smell the rose, and it's still just as potent and beautiful smell as 30 years ago when I got it, which is amazing to me.
It is fantastic, and it's triggering, the rose is triggering your memory pathways to the
Yeah.
past and to your connection to your grandmother. And I find that that is beautiful, and I wish I had the smell of my grandmother bottled up like that.
Yeah. So how does it work to work with the flower essences? Can you tell us a little bit more about that modality, how you use it?
Yes. In a way, it has a correlation to acuaroma as well,
Mm-hmm.
because it's working on the energetics, it's working with the energetics of the plants, really. And I've had fantastic results for my clients, or my clients have had fantastic results when I use a combination of whatever requirements they have with either acuaroma or aromatherapy or flower essences. And sometimes you can actually put the flower essences in the acu points as well, in the same
Mm-hmm.
way that you would use acuaroma to go into the particular meridians and the particular pathways. And sometimes you can also add the flower essences into a an aromatherapy synergy that you create for your client.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds amazing. And the flower essences, do you use the same essential oils or do you use different type of?
You mean the flower essences? If the flower essences are corresponding to the essential oils, not necessarily. You can mix them
Mhm.
together. You can use one essential oil and add a different flower essence to that particular blend, for example. Um,
I guess I'm trying to find out how the flower essences come by. Is it a distilled water? Is it similar to an essential, like this one, the one I have, the rose, I believe this is an oil,
yes,
like a
it is an
rose
oil.
oil.
Yes.
So is that how they come, like in an oil form usually?
No, they come. They are either the carrier for the flower essences is
Hmm.
usually water, spring water,
Okay.
and you use a little bit of either brandy or glycerine as a preservant or a preservative for that.
Okay.
And they would
All
usually
right.
come in bottles like this,
Mhm.
and with a pipette
Mhm.
or dropper. Or sometimes you can have the modern version and they come with a spray as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right. I have never bought a flower essence before, I think. So I was just kind of curious how they come and what kind of, I forgot the word carrier, like what kind of carrier they
And it's
come with.
fantastic.
I I know that Angela made some from her roses that she made with water and did the distillation and everything, and she sprayed it for me when I was visiting her, and I loved that smell that was
Yes.
created from the rose, and it captured it so well.
Yeah, Angela, I think she distills hydrosols, which is
Mhm.
a little different than the flower essences.
Mhm.
The hydrosols are distilled or a byproduct of the distillation of the plant product, And the flower essences are actually, you take the flowers and you put them on spring water and you solarize them in the sun for about 4 hours or so, and that would be your mother mix, or the mother tincture, to give it a call. So it's basically very, very energetic. The amount of plant material that is found in a flower essence is very negligible,
Mhm.
almost inexistent.
Mhm.
It's all about the energetics, but they are so powerful.
Mhm.
In my experience, they are very, very powerful.
It's wonderful. I have seen a recipe, and I've been doing this every year or every other year to use the flowers that we have in our property, the St. John's wort, and then I soak them in oil and put it in the sun. And it actually has to cure for about 3 weeks. And then you have the St. John's wort oil that you can use in your body for just moisturizing, or usually I use it kind of as a stress relief
Yeah,
um,
and that's like
option.
a herbal tincture that you're, or a herbal
Hmm.
infusion that you're making.
Yeah, I love it. I love to experiment and use plants in different ways and kind of preserve them.
Yes.
And they are amazing. And I think they are more coming out with different ideas how to cook with them as well. Like right now, you can find lavender scones and
Yes.
all kinds of things that were not necessarily there before. So I'm trying also to put different type of herbs and flowers in my smoothies and cooking and baking as well, just to create a new variety and capture nature that way.
And also being conscious of it, because perhaps maybe we were using them before, but we weren't conscious of,
Hmm.
the health promoting properties that these magnificent plants have in our lives. Where would
Absolutely.
we be without them? They even help us breathe. They create the oxygen that we breathe. They are
Yes,
everything.
yes, they are. And yes, they are. I love that circle of, like the trees putting out the carbon dioxide, by taking it in while we putting it out, and then they bring oxygen and we breathe oxygen. And so it's so magical how the circle of life works. I wonder if you would like to share a little bit about how was the process for you to go through the courses of aromatherapy and then end up, being a co-author in this book, um, because my understanding, this is your first published work,
Correct.
right?
It is. It is.
Yes.
It is.
So
Actually, yes.
congratulations on being an author now, and
Thank
it's
you.
out for the world to know. And I love this book. I love all the stories in it, and I do believe the magic of storytelling. So I would like to know from your perspective, as you had to write this, and how was the process for you?
The process in the beginning, which was when I was taking the classes, as
Mhm.
you know, that I was very curious about it and what it could do, and I had a particular purpose. And at first, I wasn't feeling a lot until I did, and I said,
Mhm.
well, yes, there is something here. There is something very tangible, because that experience that I had with the rosemary on the yin tan was, mind blowing.
Mhm.
But I was still not feeling that I could actually incorporate this with a client. I couldn't
Mhm.
see how I would be able to help with AcuAroma. I thought, well, I'm going to use 3 points on someone. No one is going to book uh, um, uh, an appointment with me for working these 3 points, because I'm not a massage therapist.
Mhm.
And so I kept the information for myself until I had a situation with a client where I had to take action on that particular um, client. And I used the Acu aroma, and that was what worked. And I also talk a
Mhm.
lot about it in the book. So it was breaking with paradigms in my head, preconceived ideas, self-imposed limitations that I had, and
Mhm.
just opening my entire perspective to all of the possibilities that it could have. Because at first, I thought I'm going to use it for myself, and that's it.
Mhm.
And perhaps the client that had the vagal response to acupuncture, but that was it. And I couldn't be farther from the truth. And then that was it. I had discovered that that AcuAroma actually had a very important place and a very important role in my practice, that it had come to me to enhance my practice, to help other people. And if you can see, the AcuAroma, the aromatherapy, and the flower essences are all very compatible among each other. They're very specific, but at the same time they can be very compatible. And I also discover, for example, that for particular clients, a combination of the three is what works the best. Because
Mhm.
with aromatherapy, I am using it to um, provide support on the physical, but also on the energetic aspect of it, the emotional aspect, the spiritual aspect. With AcuAroma, I am using that essential oil to go deep into the energetic pathways of the bodies, to also support emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And with the flower essences, it's the same. They're just compatible and they work among each other. And then that was it. I continued with my practice. My training was over. I went on with my practice, and then this opportunity came up, and and yes, then it was time to write. After I
Yes.
then then it was time to write, and I think that for about 2 weeks, maybe,
Mhm.
I was like sitting here at my desk going, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? And I just could not get myself to sit down and write until I actually did. When I stopped the process of, because sometimes we are self-censoring ourselves, or we don't want to show
Mhm.
vulnerability, um, or perhaps we are questioning each other or putting each other down. And when I put that away, I just started to write, and it just flowed from there.
Yeah, that is wonderful when kind of open that Pandora's box, right?
Yes.
And remove the blockages. I many times people tell people, like, recently somebody asked me too how to write about this, and I'm just like, just write. For me, if I want to write about something, I just sit down and write about. But I know that a lot of people have these different type of blocks, as they have to be perfect, or what word they say. I feel like the easiest way is to think of the words and put down in paper what you have, and then you can always go back and edit it. But you just start to write, no matter what it is. Just start to write, and then whatever you don't want, you'll take out or change in the end. But I understand that for many people, it's not that easy to start that process.
Yeah, it is a mental block, actually, because when you start to write from the heart, without any
Hmm.
judgments, without any
Yes,
expectations. You're saying, this is my truth, and I'm going to put it out there. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. This is my truth, because I truly believe that. I just write and speak what is my experience. And um, but you're right, there is a certain amount of vulnerability in that. Like, there's a vulnerability for all the practitioners
Yes.
putting everything in this book, because you're sharing your most interpersonal story and your experience, how this modality works for you, and you're sharing your journey in it. Yet on the other side, you open this door for all the people to have this experience with you.
Yes.
And as I mentioned before, I love that I could open this book and go to any of the practitioners, because this could be they are all individual stories. So you can open anywhere and start to read the story. And I love that they have the pictures in it. I showed it yesterday, but I'm gonna show. I think your story have a lot of pictures in it. You showed a lot of the different
Yes.
the different points. So for those of you who haven't seen, so it shows the actual points where you can use the acuaromatherapy, or are these the same points that you would use for the flower essence as well?
Yes, it would be the same
Okay.
points because they are the acupuncture points. It would be the same points, perhaps, given, with certain variations, perhaps, that an
Mm-hmm.
acupuncturist would use um,
Mm-hmm.
for treating, or acupressurist would use, or a reflexologist. In sometimes there is, for example, kidney one, which is a place on the bottom of the foot that an
Mm-hmm.
acupressurist would be working on, for
Mm-hmm.
example.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing um, all your experience. And I was wondering, how did you get into being a practitioner and in the first place,
Yes.
if you're willing to share?
Well, it started in 1993, 1993, 1994. And I had just gotten married. I had been married for like a year and a half, and I felt very ill
Mm-hmm.
with a parasitic infection. And very extremely ill. And at the time, the only way to treat it with allopathic medicine was with um, a pharmaceutical component that was, the first round of the pharmaceutical component did not work. So we had to go into a second round. And the second round
Mm-hmm.
had to be stopped midway because it affected my liver and it could not continue. So I was left
Mm-hmm.
with a parasitic infection, as well as the now new problem in my liver. It was a terrible
Mm-hmm.
combination because I couldn't really eat properly at the time. And, I couldn't be treated and I couldn't be left like that. So I was left to my own devices, and, with the help of my husband, who would take me here or there or whatever, herbalist in my local area we could find. And eventually, you know, um, I landed with a doctor who was an allopathic doctor, but at the same time, she knew about the energetics,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
she knew about different things, herbs, etc. And through homeopathic remedies that we had to get from Costa Rica, actually, because we couldn't find them here at the time. And I don't even think that we can find them here still. But through homeopathic remedies, herbal remedies, and essential oils and flower essences, I was able to come through. It wasn't a fast process, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a complete process
Oh,
uh,
wonderful.
that I got through it in this way. And so after that, I became very adept at the essential oils. We couldn't find essential oils here, so my mother-in-law would bring them from France every time she traveled back home. And I remember I was so ignorant of the essential oils that I would receive the essential oils she brought me and not use them because I didn't want to run out of them, and I would keep them for a for a for for an emergency, for example. But I kept them for years and years without any knowledge that they could be oxidized, especially the
Yeah.
citruses.
Yes.
So that's something that I did at the time, and I read many many books, Gabriela, and I thought that because I had read many many books on the subject, I knew about aromatherapy and I knew about essential oils. And then
Mm-hmm.
the pandemic struck many years
Mm-hmm.
later, as we all know. And I remember being here in my office, wondering if I'm going to live or die.
Mm-hmm.
And And the New York Institute of Aromatherapy closed its doors because of the lockdowns and opened the training online. And then all of a sudden I said, well, instead of sitting here wondering if I'm going to die or if I'm going to live, maybe I should just focus on, getting certified on something that I'm passionate about. Surely I will be able to pass this in a flash because I've read so much.
Those assumptions sound like there were a lot of assumptions there. I
There
can't
you
wait to
go.
hear the rest of the story. How did that go?
And so I find myself with some of my classmates were doctors, others
Hmm.
were nurses, and they would just fly through in 3 months. And it took me 3.5 years to get there because I had
Mm.
to study a lot of physiology and chemistry and some
Hmm.
botany and my assumptions were crushed because I realized while I was studying that I knew absolutely nothing about essential oils. Also, for
Well,
like,
there was more to learn about them. You know
there was
something about them because you
a
read sounds
tiny
like a lot of
thing.
books. Um, but I think it's different probably to learn in the detail that you had to learn about them. If you had to learn all the chemistry and the composition and all those things. So um, yeah, I think I know something about them, but now I'm like, I probably don't know nothing about
No, but
them
you're a nurse. I'm sure
based
that
on your experience.
you have a nursing background, and I'm sure you'll just surf through as the rest of my nursing and doctors um, classmates did. They knew the physiology, they knew
Hmm.
the chemistry already, and didn't have to spend as much time as I did. And I'm so glad that I took the time to not
Hmm.
just get certified, but I really wanted to learn and to become very
Yes.
good at it. And at some point,
Hmm.
things with the pandemic got so bad that it was also like something that I felt I had no choice because I felt I needed to learn how to take care of things, how to take care of
Hmm.
myself, how to take care of my family, if it came to that.
And it took you 3.5 years, so you got your certification, which is
Yes,
amazing.
yes.
And by during that time, did you already have your own practice, or you opened your practice after
No,
this?
no, no, no.
Or
I opened my practice. Well, the I went through level one, and after level one, I opened my practice. But I kept studying because
okay.
I wanted to go through level two, and it is something that I realized it's not like you ever stop studying. Once you go
Hmm.
into this
Yeah.
path, it's an ongoing thing. It's something that just becomes a part of you. You have to keep up with the new discoveries, the new research, the new perspectives that other people might have, and it is a lifelong commitment, and it is my absolute passion. It's what it has become.
Yes, this is the same in anything in medicine, basically, because things change all the time, and then new discoveries happen. Like aromatherapy is new because it hasn't been around there as much before, or not as well known as
Not
as
as
it
well
is right
known,
now.
yes.
Hopefully, more and more people will know it throughout this amazing book, also that was created. Um, and how was it for you to continue after this? So you passed your first certification and then you studied for the second one. Are you still in the process with that one, or were you able to get the
No,
level two?
no. I when I say that it took me 3.5 years, it was from zero to level two, but there is level three
Hmm.
that I have to
Oh,
uh,
okay.
take upon. But this year I've had so many commitments and so many um, people that I'm seeing, and my work also in AIA, in the Alliance of International Aromatherapists, has taken me away from that. But that is something that is pending, and also I want to learn about herbalism in a
Mhm.
structured way, because it's like aromatherapy was like the entry place for to discover these entire magnificent opportunities that are there waiting for us in the natural world.
Mhm.
And the more that I know about them, the better, it's going to be for me.
I think I also feel like it's essential for survival. The more of us can know and share knowledge about the herbs and the plants and the flowers, um, because things can happen, just like how the pandemic happened. Here where I live, a tsunami can happen. We are prone to earthquakes, a lot of different things, natural disasters, man-made disasters, unfortunately,
Yes,
as we see the wars throughout the world can happen. And we can be stranded. We can be stranded without pharmaceutical medicine, and it is important to know the healing powers of the herbs and the medicine that's in them, because that's how everything started. Like even pharmaceutical would not exist without the
exactly.
herbs and the plants. And I think it's important for us to go back and explore those roots and learn those medicine properties for our humanity's survival.
I think you bring up a very important aspect of this, and I'll give you an example, of how knowledge can be lost.
Hmm.
Knowledge can be lost, and it only takes one generation to lose it.
Oh, yes.
And my father grew up in a small farm, and he was aware of the herbs and the plants and different things. But I grew up in the city, and my experience was different. And then my husband and I, we had a beach house at the time, and so the beach house had like some grasses in the
Hmm.
backyard. And my father went there, and he wasn't feeling well, and I offered him something for his stomach, like I don't know if it was a tummy thing, one of those
Hmm.
pills for acid reflux or whatever. And he said, no, I'm gonna make myself a tea. And I said, well, I don't have any tea, Panama is very hot, I don't have it. And he said, no, but you have this herb in the back, lemongrass in the back.
Oh,
And I'm like,
yes, lemongrass.
and I said, lemongrass, do I have that? Yes, it's right over there. He took me there. I never knew what it was. I had seen
Mm.
it many times. I thought it was just an herb in the patio, just the same as with dandelions in the,
Hmm.
in the patio. And it was just one generation that
Hmm.
that knowledge that he had handled with his parents and his grandparents before him had gotten lost. It was not passed on to me. So it's important to
Hmm.
hold on to the knowledge of the plants, of the organic um, healing you know opportunities that we have within the natural world. It's super important, I think.
I love that. And I love lemongrass. Lemongrass is just one of those things too that Angela and I talked yesterday about, that, that you can pick a piece of rosemary or lavender and roll it in your hand and release the oil. And
Yes.
lemongrass is kind of like that. You can pick a piece of a leaf and you can just, oh my God, smell it. And it's such a wonderful scent. It's like one of my favorite
Yes,
scents. So it's so great that you have that in your backyard.
I
That
had
is
it.
truly
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I live in a forest, and I want to learn more too. About all the uses of the different plants, because I'm sure there's so many plants that I do not know, all the different uses. And each day we can learn more and more. I think it's great to have conversations like this when we can share this information. And in this way, we're not just passing it down to our children or families or friends, but anybody in the world who finds this
Yes.
video and learns about that, now they know that lemongrass is great for tummy upset because your dad taught us that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we learned through him, which is
Mhm.
wonderful. I think before, people shared these stories in villages, they gave each other knowledge and things like that. And yes, we did lose that. And with the medicine, it's so easily the doctors just to say, oh, just take this pill, or you go to the pharmacy and all these medications available. But the best thing I do believe is, like, if you have this medicine available in your garden or in your community, to go back to nature, go back to the actual herb instead of popping a pill. Not saying that sometimes a medication is necessary,
Yes.
um, but they don't always help. Like in your case with those, the sickness that you have, there was nothing
It
to
made it
treat it.
worse.
So
It made it
yeah,
worse because
it caused
something
an
else.
issue
Yeah.
with your liver, and we want a happy liver, so that's not good if it
I think it's
affects the liver, and
important
many
to,
medications do.
yeah. And I think, first of all, it's ancestral knowledge that should continue to
Yes.
be passed down from, from one generation to the next. And also, although perhaps our community has been ostracized a little bit from allopathic medicine, I think this is the time to perhaps start creating bridges between both,
Yes,
because they both have their uses. And
absolutely.
the best results that I have ever gotten was when I actually was able to work with the doctor, the allopathic doctor of a client, who
Mhm,
had no ego, in no negative ego. He just was genuinely interested in helping
mhm.
his patient, and so we worked together to achieve
That's
that.
great. Mhm,
And that particular patient went from taking 4 different medicines, pharmaceuticals, to only being having to take one. So there is a place for everything, for pharmaceuticals and for the organic um, plants that we use. We just need to be smarter and work together in unity.
I love that. Yeah, that's one of my love, to create uniting thoughts and build bridges between communities and people, because I think that's the best way to survive and thrive as a human being, and also to be respectful to nature. And there's also a part of it that some people go to nature and um, with the intent of making a lot of money, and they cut down trees or bushes that could produce the medicine years to come. And
Yes.
instead of that, it's important to take some but leave some for next year and also for other people. And I do believe that, as you were talking about energies before, that there is an importance how you pick and prepare things as well. If you prepare things with gratefulness and gratitude and thankfulness, it's going to have a different energy than if you just want, and take. And
There
yeah,
was
I think
um
that's
there was a gathering that was done through the Aramid Institute, and they were sharing something that really struck me very, very deeply, and it was that the natives had this particular reverence towards plants, and always stated that you should take only that what which you need and leave the rest.
yes, absolutely. And even when I go to my garden and pick from things that I planted, I ask permission from the plant. And sometimes it feels like, oh, maybe you shouldn't pick that one. And if you picked quite a bit, then leave the garden for a while and eat other things and let things grow back and mature before you pick more. And I
Absolutely.
think also being just grateful and thankful for everything, and thank the plant to produce, because that's their life, that's their life cycle, and you're taking it from them to nourish yourself. So either if it's your mind, body, or spirit, whichever you're nourishing, is very, very important to um, kind of honor that other life, even if it's just a plant life, because we are all one way or another connected to everything around us, including that specific plant you're picking something from.
And I think that the plants are actually the higher beings here on this planet. They're ever giving, they are ever forgiving, and they basically, sustained life um, in us.
Absolutely, we would not really survive without them. Yet, many times, unfortunately, humanity does not treat plants well.
Yeah. Especially in urban environments where in certain areas of my city, for example, we're suffering a lot because the temperature has risen a lot, and in part, a huge part has to do with the fact that there are not enough um, trees. You know, people just
Not enough
put
trees and
not
ground
in
cover,
correct
probably
exactly.
to cool the earth, because um, even in America, many people they cut the grass so tiny that it's almost down to the earth. Well, when
Right.
it's so tiny, it's first of all, it's going to burn down. Second of all, it cannot cool the earth.
Yes.
It's important to plant ground cover that can cool the earth and plant trees. And when you cut down a tree, you usually have to plant 4 or 5 instead, because they are tiny and it's going to take a long time for them to grow up. But I have a friend in Jamaica, and she's having the same issue. It's extreme heat there, and they are keep
Oh,
cutting down trees and building high rises by the ocean. And this creates a huge problem because it's getting warmer and warmer, and it's not
yes.
even cooling down enough in a winter time or at night or early morning. It's hot throughout the day, and how people can survive in that. It's going to reach a point where people are not going to be able to survive in places like this. And then what are we going to do?
And it all comes down to greed in everything.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
once this is gone, it's gone, and it's not coming back. So, you know, tame the greed.
Yes. I mean, except if there's a tremendous effort of conservation.
Yeah,
But it's much easier not to cut down that tree than plant, 5 or 10 other ones and wait, another 50 or 100 years for that tree to be big
definitely.
enough to give the shade and the support that needs.
It's easier to preserve than to rebuild.
Absolutely. Um, and I hope that with time or awareness or conversations like this, more and more people can see that. I personally love planting trees. I love saving little trees from the side of the road that would be cut down,
Yes.
and bring home the little tree saplings and put them in a nursery. And as they grow up, plant them from our property, kind of plant them out and give it to people who want to plant them as well, because I do believe that we need reforestation.
Yes.
Um, as like the place where we live in, there's a forest too, but a lot of the huge evergreens that were, you can't even go around them, even in our property, were cut down. So you need
Oh,
to replant them, because now we just have the trees that lose the leaves.
yes.
And um, there's some evergreens, but we need more to kind of keep the air clean and keep that fresh oxygen around us. So I hope that whoever is listening and hearing this will get excited and go plant some trees and plants.
And if you don't
Please, we
have
need them.
And if you don't have a plot of land, you can also plant on your balcony or the windowsill, anywhere. I live in an apartment. I keep as many plants as I can. And I welcome the ones that just start growing on pots out of nowhere that I did not plant, but I take them like they came to visit me, and they should be there and they should be taken care of, and they thrive.
I love that. And also, public land. If there's a land where there's there's no trees, and if it's allowed to plant a tree,
Exactly.
or in parks, um, or even seeds. Many people just throw away the seeds, but like if you have seeds of any fruit that can grow, you can plant the seeds in public lands or places where there's no trees, and
Yes.
let the fruit trees grow, and that provide, feeding for communities or people who don't have any trees or have no access because they don't have a property. I love, there's some communities that create orchards, so then everybody from the community can go and pick the fruit, and I think it's a beautiful way to unite
Isn't that
through
a
food.
beautiful thing to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
And I think preserving our environment is essential for us to thrive. And then even those essential oils and flower essences would not exist if we can't grow them, and if the soil is too contaminated and the air is too contaminated, even the
Correct.
quality of those would change over time. And I'm sure they are different now than they were 100 years ago.
Yes, they are, and even like here, like I have a little miniature rose bush, and because of the temperature changes, it has been it went through a hard time for the last 2 years. I don't know if it was
Hmm.
going to live or not. It didn't know if it wanted water or not enough, not so much water, and now it's beginning to like adjust to the
Hmm.
situation, and it is beginning to thrive again. But I'm wondering, how, for example, the chemical constituents of the essential oils that we could get from that plant would change because of the differences in the climate that it is experiencing.
Hmm.
So there will, like you said, there will not be any flower essences or essential oils if we don't take care of the plants and preserve them. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think we had an amazing conversation coming from aromatherapy to save the planet and the plants.
Yes.
Is there anything else that we haven't really talked about today that you feel like it would be important to mention for the people who are watching this now or later?
Well, I think that I would like to address the Latin American community. Um, I
Okay.
know there are a lot of um, you know practitioners that perhaps work from behind the curtain of things, and I would like to encourage them to just come through and unite also as aromatherapists, because what we do is important, and it helps support uh, others and our families and ourselves, and just want to leave that, um, not only for Latin America, but also for the entire world, to just unite in our love for plants and keep pushing, because those are the materials that we use in our practice.
I love that. And we lead by example, right? So if
Yes.
we recreate plants and the love of plants around us, then hopefully other people will notice and join us in that,
Yes.
um,
Absolutely.
to support the plants. So thank
And
you so much, Mimi, for
thank
joining
you.
me today.
Thank you. And I
And
hope you all buy the book and read it and enjoy it. And I know that you will enjoy it. So, yeah.
okay, I'm going to show the book again. Again, this is Drops of Wisdom, Points of Power. 12 amazing practitioners talk about aromatherapy, acuaromatherapy, and acupressure, and how it's combined and create a wonderful new healing modality. And I hope you guys will enjoy this book. And Mimi is one of the authors in the book, and it was great to learn about your practice and get to know you better. And if at a future time you would like to do this again, I welcome you back on
Thank
Dancing
you.
Elephant Press. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
Have a
you.
beautiful
And
day.
you too. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.